All our beloved viewers. I am Malika Gupta, the Secretary of Marketing and Sponsorship, AMSA India, and I'm privileged to be your host today for our session talk show with our achievers organized by KAPLAN, LogiQuest, and AMSA India. Hoping to keep you all engaged in this session with the motive to learn something along with fun interaction.
Malika, sorry, I guess, hold on. Has it been delayed?
Okay,
Once again, so sorry.
it's okay. Do I sound better?
Yeah. जिसको को कॉल करो बोलो delay, there's a basic delay.
With fun interaction.
Malika, sorry, I guess, hold on. Has it been delayed?
Okay,
So sorry.
it's okay. Do I sound better?
Yeah.
Is this live?
Yes.
Hello and good evening to all our beloved viewers. I am Malika Gupta, the Secretary of Marketing and Sponsorship, AMSA India, and I'm privileged to be your host for today's talk show with our achievers, organized by KAPLAN, LogiQuest, and AMSA India. So, hoping to keep you all engaged in this informative session with the motive to learn something along with some fun interaction, I would now like to take the initiative to welcome our speakers, Dr. Satya Preetham and Dr. Monika McGann. Dr. Satya Preetham has just cleared his USMLE and secured a residency in the University of Missouri in the Department of Internal Medicine, and Dr. Manik has cleared USMLE Step 1 with a whooping 260 score. Now, guys, this is what I know about you. Can I just ask you to take the initiative to introduce yourself, Dr. Manik and Dr. Satya?
Hi. Hi, everybody. I thank LogiQuest Kaplan to have me. Thanks, Malika, for the introduction. So my name is Preetham, and I am from AFMC. I just finished my USMLE journey, and I got selected for internal medicine in University of Missouri at Kansas City. And I'm very happy to be here right now, and I'm hoping to have a lot of fun, just like she said, along with sharing some learning experiences for you all.
Right. Dr. Manik, you're not audible. Could you just unmute yourself? You're not audible.
Yeah.
Yes.
Hey guys, my name is Monika McGann. I am currently an intern. Got finished with my internship. So, and by the way, just going on about my USMLE journey, and I'm so grateful for Kaplan LogiQuest and Malika to have me here, so we can share all our experiences with the USMLE process. And let's start. So,
right.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for taking time out to be with us here and to answer some of our queries. So without taking any more time, let us begin with today's session. So my first question to both of you is actually that when and how did the thought of US residency run through your mind? That when did you actually think that I want to give USMLE? Like most of the people have it in their mind that before they join the MBBS, they're very clear that I want to join USMLE. And maybe there are many people who decided in internship itself, yes, I want to give USMLE. When did this thought come in your mind?
Actually, I started out by preparing for NEET PG. So when I was in my third year, I was actually going to Bhartiya Institute for NEET PG coaching, and then I was not very happy with the kind of pattern of questions that they give there. So I just checked out a few USMLE questions. I just liked the pattern. I thought I should try out USMLE. That's how I started. That's how the thought came to my mind. And my friends told me that I am the kind of a guy who will be able to solve such questions, who will be able to put up with, slightly long journey. So with their support, this is how the thought process was like in my head when I started for, USMLE. This is what it was,
So basically, how this happened with me was I was in my second year, and there was always this talk about like NEET PG, USMLE, right? What are you going to do next with your lives? Like right now, you're in medical school. What are you going to do next, right? So I actually had a senior who just passed out, like he did his internship and he started preparing for USMLE. So he stayed in the hostel for a while. And what happened was, so he took KAPLAN up, and then I remember like like I saw him studying, and then he did some UWorld questions, and I was there with him sometimes, and I saw those questions and like how they presented, and I really liked again, like Preetham sir said, like how they are presented, right? How all of those questions are so conceptual, and it's kind of interesting when you solve them. You kind of have a lot of fun. So that was a lot of fun for me. But I didn't start in second year. Actually, I actually like learned from that, and then I started in the third year, and I got the KAPLAN course, and I watched all of it. Like so, that's how it went. And yeah, it was just USMLE is so conceptual, and I was like, I want to go in towards a place where they test me on my concepts, not just on my memory, right? How can I how conceptual I can go, and that was why I chose USMLE, because I was always about you become a better doctor if you have the right concepts versus just memorization, right?
Very true.
Yeah.
So yes. Now that we know when did you actually start thinking about USMLE, I would now like to know when did you start preparing for the same? When was it when you actually geared up for your USMLE studies? When did you start preparation for it?
Right. So that's a good question, because I started the thought came in third year, but then I just like stopped thinking about it. I had fun in my final year. And once I was in internship, like just before I started internship, I was waiting for my final results. And then I started talking to some of my seniors who had already given their USMLE. And I started talking to them, and they kind of motivated me to gear up for the whole thing. But even then, I just like put it off, delayed it a little bit. But I think I would say March 7th, 2018 was the day when I started preparing for step one.
Okay.
I remember the date. Yeah.
Right.
Quite vividly, because I have this little whiteboard in my room.
Hello.
In that I have. Can you hear me?
Yes, Dr. Satya.
Yeah. So I was saying I have this little whiteboard in my room, in which I have this date written, 7th March 2018, the first day of my internship. And, like I wrote Preetham, MD in brackets US. So that was a funny, cute little story, but that kind of kept me motivated. So 7th March, yes, that's when I started.
Nice. Okay. So I think you remember your date as well, which is like very commendable. And the thought that you started in your internship is so motivational for all of us who have not started yet. So right. So over to you, Dr. Manik.
Yeah. So I basically started in third year because so what happened was I was interested in the process, and I took up KAPLAN, and I went through all of it and then made my own notes. However, I was again anxious because it was my third year, and I was like, I basically know nobody else other than my senior. Like, I don't know what to do about this. And let's give this some time, right? But the good thing about starting in third year actually was the concepts that I got, and like I could apply them when I went into fourth year, right? When you read other books like Davidson and all those good books, right? Yeah, you can apply all those concepts of step one there, and learning becomes so easy in fourth year because of that, right? However, the exact date I started preparing for it was actually 5 months into my internship. So my internship started, I waited for 5 months because I was just trying to, cope up with it. And then I started like 5 months. I don't remember the exact date, like Preetham sir But yeah, but I do remember I started 5 months after my internship, and it took me about 7 months. It was a bit hectic, but like it was fun. Like I enjoyed a lot during my prep, like getting all those concepts, and yeah, so yeah. And I
Right.
gave it this March. Yeah, I gave it in March. Yeah, 11th March.
11th March. So I think this thought
Yeah.
that you're enjoying your studies is something that I need to work upon, right? So another question to both of you now, which is a very common question being which is asked from everyone. It's my question as well. So for how long did you study on for your daily basis when you were preparing for your assembly? What was your time? So how long did you study for it?
So, I mean, long as in terms of months, I took same like Monica, I took around 6 to 7 months.
What
But
about
yes,
per
you're
day?
right. You're right. A lot of people have asked me how many hours per day
Right,
I had
right.
studied. So I was studying along with my internship. So removing like let's say 9 to 10 hours of internship per day, I would give in another 8 hours on an average per day
Okay.
for USMLE prep. So and also like there is this habit that people have dedicated period and not very dedicated period. I did
True.
not go with it because I thought I had a very limited time because I had planned out my timeline and I had only 6 to 7 months for my step one. So
Okay.
almost all the time that I had was, like dedicated. Because, when people think about there is a dedicated time and there is a non-dedicated sort of time, then people don't work hard enough in their non-dedicated time. They just defer
True, true.
everything for the dedicated time period, which doesn't really make sense according to me because then that sort of the preparation becomes dilute. Because according to me, the most important thing to attempt go and take an exam is apart from the knowledge base to be in the zone to take that exam. And
True.
if you're not like with it, like with all your material and in that USMLE world all the time, then it's difficult to like get in and out of that zone. So that's why it's I think I would recommend that you should study 7 to 8 hours every day till you take the exam. So that is my strategy.
Okay. So that is
Okay.
something that you planned it, you had it and that timeline
Yeah,
planned out, right? So Dr.
yeah,
Manik?
yeah.
Yeah, so my internship actually was a bit chill. It's not that hectic, right? As in other institutions. So it actually allowed me to like, study more. So I actually studied about 8 to 11 hours, like every single day. Like, cause
Okay.
sometimes in internship I would get free, right? I would do portions there, right? Or do something like that, right? And come back and study whatever I could, right? And that continued on for some time. But I did have a dedicated period. Like that was just 1 month before my step one, and then I took a break from my internship and just studied, like, and then I studied about like at least 12 to 14 hours, right, a day, because that's how a dedicated period works. But I think Preetham sir is right, because you need to have like, you need to work hard every single day. And I think like working more hard 1 month before the exam is actually foolish if I think about it, because you're just going to tire yourself out. If you work hard
Right.
beforehand, like you put in all the work beforehand, right? 1 month before the exam, you should just chill and study how much ever you can, like, 8 to 10 or something. I think
Okay.
that's a good way to go about it, right? Do not stress yourself 1 month before the exam, because we need your common sense working in that place. Because if
Yeah,
you
Yes.
stress yourself, yeah,
I remember getting stressed out, let's say 10 days before, and I stopped studying 5 days before.
yeah,
People don't buy this, but I actually stopped preparing like 5 days before because I wanted my peace of mind and everything. And he's right, yeah, like don't tire yourself out.
yep.
Right. Yet dedication. Oof. So like moving on to the next question. This is to Dr. Preetham. So what were your step one score and what were your step two CK score?
Step one was 255, CK
Okay.
was 257.
Okay. So right. And to Dr. Manik, what was your step one score?
It's 260.
Right. So, guys, now Dr. Manik scored 260 in his step one, and Dr. Preetham scored 255 in his step one. So, guys, were you close to your target score? Was this something you had in mind, or maybe what you wanted was 270, you got 260, or what you planned was 240, but you got 255? Something like this. Was this your target score?
Uh, well, there's a dream score and there's a target score, and then there's an actual. Everybody's dream score is 265, 270.
Yeah.
Everybody's target score is around 260 plus. My realistic scores, according to my MBMS in New World, was between 250 and 260, and I eventually
Right.
ended up getting 255. So I would say I was close enough to my target score. That's what I
Definitely.
would say. Yeah.
For me, it was not the case. My target score was actually in the 270s, and like the funny thing is, even my NBMEs were like 270. So if I checked my NBME 18, that was about 270. My U World self assessments were 271 and 279, and it was kind of like, that's again the same thing. Do not stress yourself out 1 month before the exam. That kind of happened with me because I studied a lot. And the second thing, you should pre-plan everything, like, where you're going to stay in the hotel and all, because that kind of disturbed me a lot, right?
Okay.
So my dream score was that 270 plus. However, I'm happy, like, your score is like your baby. Even if it's a bit ugly, it's fine. You need to love
Well
it.
said.
Yes.
You need to love that score. It's fine.
Right. But yet, I cannot even imagine having a dream score of 270. I mean, my dream score is so much lower than yours. So, right. So,
It's totally possible. It's totally possible. I'm telling you, it's easy,
right. But
not
you need
hard.
your level of dedication.
Absolutely, you need dedication, but
Yes.
anybody can do it.
Definitely. So, right. To Dr. Preetham now. So, to get a score of 255 and then 257, how many months of dedicated study did it take you? Because you've told us the hours of study you put in daily, but how many months? Could you just give a timeline on that?
So, so I began March 7th. I gave my step one on September 26th. So that's
Okay.
around again 6 months to 7 months. And then I took a break because I had my medicine rotation, surgery, obs gynae rotation. So I could not really focus during studies. So my step to CK, you can actually say that I had a non-dedicated period where I was doing everything else apart from
Okay.
step to CK, but just labeled it prep for step to CK, and then I didn't study as much because I could not. And so those 3 months, those 3 to 4 months when I was doing those rigorous rotations, I didn't study as much. But then I took my step to CK in May. So if you
Okay.
actually count the number of months that I put in dedicated for step to CK, would be 4 months, and for step one, the entire period, like 6 to 7 months. So this is my timeline. Yes.
Okay.
Even
Right.
yeah. So
The same question to you, Dr. Manik.
yeah. So I took about 6 to 7 months like that. So yeah, but my preparation was kind of like, a bit haywire in the start because I was like, it was variable, so variable. Sometimes 2 hours, 3 hours, but in the end, I had to, go about for that 8 hours a day. But like, yeah, again, like for that 6 to 7 months, I think is more than enough. Even if you're an intern or even if you are like studying in med school, like especially third year like is such a free time, like you get a lots of free time in medical school. If you can give it in third year, I think that's amazing because then you don't have to stress about step one. Then you'll be like, okay, step two CK next. So if you can
Okay.
give it, then
Right. Noted. So, right. Again, a question to both of you. Now, most of the students have this doubt in their mind. I have the same doubt as well. Now, the question is, how do you balance both MBBS as well as USMLE in real time basis? So, would you like to give our viewers something on that sort? Because some people find it very difficult, as Dr. Preetham just said, that he had to take time out of his USMLE step two preparation for his medical rotations. How do you balance your MBBS and USMLE preparation then?
Right. So it's a tricky question considering that I never did that, but this is what I would say. So basically, I think you don't have to start studying for step one when you're in medical school, like let's say first or second year. I got a lot of messages on Insta or WhatsApp saying that, sir, should I start studying for step one in first year itself or second year
Right.
itself? So
uh,
this is my opinion. My opinion is that you should get a perspective, a USMLE perspective of looking at things. When
Right.
you, let's say, because I mean, guys, let's be honest. When we study in MBBS, we study, by looking at everything in MBBS in the point of view of an exam. Like we have to take an exam of at the end of this. So, okay, is this important or not? So we'll study this and we'll leave this out. We'll study that and we'll leave something else out. So that is a kind of perspective when we take a university exam, a university level exam at the end of first year, second year, like that. Similarly, for NEET PG and similarly for USMLE, you need to get a perspective. That is what you should get when you're in MBBS, when you're in medical school. So let's say, for
Right.
example, you have Kaplan. Let's say you subscribe to Kaplan. You have Kaplan videos with you, and you watch Kaplan videos. The good thing about them is that along with teaching you basic concepts, they give that perspective. So when there's a teacher, he teaches you everything, and then in the end, he says that these are the kind of questions you'll face in topics like these. So that helps you look at those things in a slightly different angle.
Right.
If in this same way you do each and every subject in MBBS, I'm not asking you to start reading only USMLE material during MBBS. I would actually rather advise you against that. Don't do that, because then you will miss out on MBBS. Then you will just be
True, true.
preparing for USMLE, and that's not healthy. You should prepare for medicine, your career, and also USMLE. So what I would suggest is that when doing your subjects, uh, do them in a little bit of depth, do them in a conceptual way, and have this perspective with you. Like when you read, let's say, read Harrison's, read Davidson's, read whatever you like, take it, and read foreign authors, read Indian authors. Little, it doesn't matter too much. But when you read anything, you have to like try to form a question in a conceptual way. What happens if a patient comes like this? Try to get the hang of it, and then suddenly you'll realize that when you sit in the internship or in third year of medical school, when you sit to prepare actually for your step one, then you've had the hang of it, of thinking in that particular way, so it will become easier for you. So I think that's how you
Yes.
should strike a balance, not that study for exams also and then take out 2 hours of your day to study for step one, 2 hours of your day to study for something else. Don't do that. Don't do this fragmented kind of thing. Like it should be more of an all inclusive thing,
Right.
not exclusive. It should be inclusive. So that's what I think.
Okay,
Okay.
so the key points that we need to take from this is that it should be inclusive. Just keep up with your MBBS studies and try to link it with USMLE rather than just focusing on USMLE. Right. So, Dr.
Right.
Manik, what are your views on this?
So my views are pretty similar. Like, however, I would actually advise you to start in first year. The reason I will tell you to start in first year, there's a reason for that, right? Because I'll give you an example, right? If you study from Kaplan, you study the anatomy from Kaplan, they actually derive the anatomy from embryology. I'm not kidding. Like, that's how they go about it. Like, embryologically, if this is the ectoderm, mesoderm, endoderm, right? They show you in 3D how everything is derived, neural crest and
Wow.
everything and all. Yeah. And when you learn in that ways, like in that way of manner, everything becomes conceptual, because now you're like, okay, like, so an example of that would be, if you think about the gut blood supply, right? Think about the celiac
Okay.
artery, superior mesenteric artery, inferior mesenteric artery. If you
Yes.
know what is the foregut, you know that foregut is supplied by the celiac artery. Simple as that. And foregut
Right.
is from the mouth, like from the mouth till your first part of duodenum, right? Second part of duodenum, actually, right? So all of that is supplied by your celiac artery, and your midgut is then supplied by your superior mesenteric. That
Mesenteric
is
artery.
from second part of duodenum, like, yeah. So a lot of that, right? But if you know how to do that, right? If you have those kind of concepts, okay, this is how it's done, and you can classify based on that, your learning becomes super fast and it becomes super efficient, right? I don't have to go
Right.
and learn, okay, esophagus is also supplied with this, this is also supplied by this, right? It becomes so conceptual. And when you are doing it that way, you wouldn't forget. Because I've seen this problem with a lot of medical students, that they tend to forget everything, right?
True.
But if you have concepts, you have deep and strong concepts, you don't need to revise it back again. And that's what happened with me, right? I started in
Okay.
third year, and when I did Kaplan, I did fourth year, and I was amazed that knowing these concepts got me so far in my medicine thing, right? I kind of got a distinction there because of that, because I had concepts, deep concepts in that, right? So start in your first year if you can, right? Any
Okay.
prep, like, try to integrate whatever you're learning from USMLE with your MBBS studies, because I'm telling you, it will make a big difference, right? It will make a big difference, because trust me, like, the main result that you're gonna get for USMLE or NATE is gonna be based upon how much have you studied in your first, second, third year, right? Because those concepts are gonna show up later. Trust me, it will show up. And so try to integrate everything together, right? No matter for what exam you're preparing, get those videos, get your books, and try to integrate them. That one thing I think is big. And second thing, I remember a lot of people, like my own batchmates, they were like, dude, you're studying so much, right? You're trying to like get these concepts in. And that guy was scoring similar to me in my university exams. And he was like, I
Okay.
only just, go through these things, and like I don't have those concepts, but yet we are scoring the same. So what's the, like, why are you even doing this? And I remember like him teasing me on that. A lot of my friends used to tease me on that. But trust me, that's going to take you far. When you build concepts, even though you might not score a lot in the university exams, I would say
Right.
just
Right.
pass your university exam. It's fine. Just pass them, right? Not a big deal. But focus on concepts. In the end,
True.
concepts are going to take you far, right? Don't care about your university exam so much. Just, pass them. It's fine. But try to focus on concepts. Every time, concepts, concepts, concepts. That's it, right? So that's my
Definitely.
that's my
Right.
take.
So USMLE is basically conceptual, which is different from the university exam, because university exam we basically require rectification or cramming, as what we say. Now, as you explained it from the example of anatomy, what I understood is that, see, what I thought was that anatomy is actually a subject which needs cramming. It's theoretical, and you see the actual thing in surgery, right? So you need to know anatomy well to know surgery, but you don't know it in first year. So what I think you're trying to say is that we need to inculcate some smart learning so that we can link everything. Right. So now moving on to the next question. So again, to both of you, now USMLE versus NEET slash Next. Now I know that since both of you have cracked both NEET as well as USMLE, wow. Now many students are confused. Should we take attempt USMLE or NEET slash Next? What are your views on that?
Yeah, go ahead, Manik. It's okay.
Okay, I should go. Yeah. So point number one, like it depends. Are you totally focused on USMLE? Because here's what's happening with me, right? So I am totally like I want to go into the US. That's done with me, right? If you're in
Okay.
that kind of if you're in that kind of mindset that it's either going to be US or nothing else, right?
Okay.
Just give USMLE. However, there's another point, right? Like what happened with me was my dad was like, just give NEET PG. I was preparing for USMLE. I was totally against. I don't want to give NEET PG, but he took me. He was like, just go and give it, right? And I
Okay.
got a good rank. I got like a 4,480 rank in NEET, right? And the thing that happened was now it got me confused because now I'm like, should I take a seat here because of the COVID-19 situations, or should I like because then it kind of sets you in a confusion thing, right? Right now, I'm pretty confused. Should I continue on with USMLE, like totally? Because I'm going to give my step two anyways, like this year, I have to give it. But, or
Right.
should I get PG seat? So that kind of confusion, if you think you're a person who can get confused like that, just give USMLE, don't give any other exam, right?
Okay.
If you are a person like me who gets confused with these things, right? Because a lot of people do not get confused. They're like, okay, he scored a NEET PG rank of this. I can leave that seat because I am focused on US, right? So if you're that kind of person, go ahead and give as many as exams you want. If you're
True,
not
true.
affected by your position in other exams, right? You're not, you don't have that greed. Okay, I got the seat. Should I like I should take it, right? Because I kind of
Right.
have that, right? And so then it's not a like, if you're not confused by it, go ahead and give a lot of exams. It's pretty good practice, right? Taking NEET PG is a pretty good practice because you get to see how questions can come up and you kind of build upon your stamina because it's a 3 hour exam that kind of builds stamina for you, right? And you
Right.
just kind of become a good test takers with a lot of exams. Go ahead and give aims, if you're not affected by these kind of things like me.
Right.
But if you are, try to stay away from other exams because I think like really if you are confused by these things, stay away from other exams. Like
Right.
that's
Right.
Right. So even so, I have a similar opinion. So there are two kinds of people. One is a set of people who say, I am aiming for NEET PG, but I'm hearing that NEET PG is, getting the questions on NEET PG are getting similar to the ones on USMLE. So should I prepare for USMLE, do the USMLE material in order to give NEET PG? Now, I'm not really like for that because NEET PG itself is like a huge thing and you need to like study books and watch videos and do questions separately for NEET PG per se. But some books, let's say maybe like, some of the important books that we study for USMLE, maybe those can be used for NEET PG. That's fine.
Right.
But the other set of people concerned, with us is the USMLE people whose aim is to do USMLE, but they don't know whether or not to give NEET PG. So in this aspect, what I did was even my father was like, you have to take every exam. You cannot miss a single exam. Okay.
Right. Indian parents.
Because we are Indians. Okay. You need to do NEET UG, JIPMER and AIMS in UG also. And even in PG, the same things. You have no other option. I did my JE mains also when I was in 12th. So that's my dad. Okay. So I had to take NEET PG, right? But how it helped me was that, so my step one was in September, right? But before that, there is this UPSC CMS exam, which is again a 6 hour long exam based on final year subjects. That happened, I think, in July. So the good thing about that was because I was preparing for step one, I did well on the UPSC exam. On September 15th or so, I got my results of UPSC that I got selected. That gave me a major confidence boost.
Hoot hoot.
So then I went ahead and gave step one with a good confidence that, I know how to take it. I know because the last competitive exam that I took was NEET UG. Right. So I didn't have an exposure of giving a computer based exam again and all those things. So that helped me because taking step 1 or step 2 CK is not only about knowledge or how smart you are in solving questions and clinical scenarios. It's also about taking the pressure during a test. So that test taking
Yes.
skills, those are very important. So you need to like brush your test taking skills up. So that UPS exam helped me that way. Similarly, my NEET PG was, kind of before my step 2 CK. And when I took my NEET PG, I got a similar rank as Manik. And I was again happy that, I could do NEET PG without even studying very much for it. So I think I'm good enough to take another exam in USMLE. And that again gave me another confidence boost. So,
Right.
I mean, there are two ways of looking about it, looking at it. If you didn't do well, it's fine. Like you can just be like, I was not meant to give this exam anyway. I was not preparing for it. How would I expect myself to do very well? If you do
Right.
well, it's like a bonus.
Yes.
So just take it. It's a very cheap exam. Just take it.
Right.
Absolutely. Yeah, makes sense.
Yes. So what I get from the explanation from both of you is that Indian parents have this tendency to, okay, star exam de de, we'll keep a backup. Right. True.
Back
And the
up.
backup,
Back
right.
up.
And the next thing is that if you give NEET PG, this can give you a set of, what to say, preparation in that sort. Test series ki tarah we can do it. But
Right.
another doubt which I had in my mind was, you said that you scored very well in your UPSC and your NEET as well. And what if your score comes in before and you do not score well, and this can lead you down, right? So this can demotivate you as well.
I mean,
But
yeah,
we
we have.
just hope that the result does not come before the test. That's it, right?
I mean, if you're not confident, just don't look at your score and just look at it
Right,
after you give your step 1. Maybe that's it.
right. True.
But
This is a good.
Indian
Yes.
parents look that
Backup
up.
rakh lena.
They will
Right.
look up your score. Yeah, but yeah, so that's correct. However, be careful about giving other exams if
Yeah,
you
he's
get.
right. Yeah.
I'm telling you, I know a lot of people who got confused and they left USMLE because of that, and they might have done even ways better. But like, so be careful if you're a person like me who gets confused very fast, right? Okay. One more thing I would say is the thing about USMLE, if you're giving USMLE, is you actually become like if you score well in USMLE, you actually become so competent in other exams because USMLE is so conceptual and you need to use your head so much that you become a good test taker, number one. And second, your concepts are totally refined. And the thing
Right.
is, see, what is medicine made of? If you think about medicine, it is made again of physiology, anatomy, right? Everything combined,
Everything.
pharmacology. Yeah. So all the first and second year things that you see are actually what make up all the fourth year subjects, right? So even if
True,
you're
true.
giving exams like NEET, PG, and all these things that have third and fourth year, you and your first and second year are strong, right? And by the way, NEET, PG focuses strongly on first and second year subjects, right? It does focus
Very
on
true. Yes.
Pharmac and Path, right? A lot. So it's probable that if you have scored a good USMLE score, that you will actually score very well in NEET. So you're actually safe, right? So you know that if you're competent by USMLE, NEET will be easy for you. So that's a pretty good advantage to have in your pocket and a backup, right? If this doesn't work out, I don't get it there. I always have that backup of coming back to India. However, it is not
Right,
the same
right.
with people in NEET PG because it's actually based on a lot of rectification. Like people who
True.
learn actually just for NEET PG, like make a lot of ratta kind of things and uh, wrote everything.
Mnemonics and cramming and all.
Yeah, but that doesn't work in USMLE because if you are not practiced with the pattern of USMLE and how big the questions are, because NEET PG questions are just like this, like small and all, and USMLE questions can go this big, right? You have to
Right.
read the whole case scenario, right? So if you are just preparing for NEET PG, do not think you're competent enough for USMLE. However, I may be wrong. Like depends upon the kind of person who is, but in general, if you just prepare for NEET PG, don't think I can just give USMLE like that, right? Just register for it and give it like that. It doesn't work like that because USMLE needs a lot of preparation and it needs a lot of practice, to get whatever they're saying. Because the question pattern is actually quite different. USMLE questions are quite complex and they require lots of multi-level thinking, right? You need to be thinking on 10, like sometimes even on 10 levels, right? 5, 6 levels, right? It can go that way. But in NEET, it's just a simple answer. Like they literally is just you need to think one step and you get to the answer. But USMLE, it's
True.
like go one step, then think about the second, then think of the third, and
Yes.
then you come to the answer, right? So that's a
Right.
big difference to know about. But if you do USMLE, trust me, other things are just going to be very easy. That's very true.
Okay.
'Cause-
So noted. Right. So this question is to Dr. Preetham. So was internal medicine your first choice of specialty, or did you actually get it because you were not left with any choice or something like that? Was it your first choice in that case, internal medicine?
Yeah, internal medicine was always my first choice, because funnily enough, in my final year I just read medicine. Maybe that's why I just like medicine. So it was my first choice. Like for example, I was not confused with my NEET PG score, because it would not have gotten me an internal medicine MD internal medicine in Mumbai with my rank. So I
Oh,
was pretty
Okay.
sure about that. So no confusions there. So
Right.
if even if I had aimed for NEET PG or AIMS or whatever it was, like I would still have taken internal medicine. It was my first choice.
Okay.
That is true. Yeah.
Okay. So again, a question to Dr. Preetham is that do you have plans to complete fellowship in the US? And if yes, then in what super specialty? Do you plan to stay in the US for your fellowship as well?
Right. As of now, I think I want to do a fellowship. 3 years later, I don't know, I may get lazy, but as of now, yes, I do plan to do a fellowship. And because I'm an Indian, and because my family is also Indian, sorry, but so I have to take that some a fellowship that is very competitive. And
Right.
also I like it, not that I don't like it, I like it, but I'm planning to do cardiology. I don't know
Okay.
how far I'll get in it, but still I plan to do cardiology, and then further followed by an advanced fellowship like electrophysiology or intervention cardiology. Not thought so far ahead, but yes, my plan is to do fellowship in the US, and that is probably going to be cardiology.
Oh
Yeah.
my God, complex subjects. So, right, next question again to Dr. Preetham is that did you do any research during your MBBS period? And if yes, then what was the topic if you would like to share?
So I did not do any research. That is one of my regrets. If you ask me regrets, that will be on the top. I did not do any research in my MBBS time, because I wasted my time. No spoilers there. No surprises there. I'm sorry. So I just wasted my time in MBBS. But it's fine. Like I caught up with it. I actually, when I was almost finishing my internship, I had a few days left in internal medicine rotation, and then I, like contacted some residents there. I I could write, I think, two case reports that later on got submitted, but I could not put it on my CV because it was not submitted at that point. And then when I was also doing my electives and my observerships, I also contacted some attendings there, and I saw some cases and I wrote a case report. And then I also wrote a review article along with three of my seniors. So the review
Okay.
article was about vegan diet and its implications in heart disease and mortality and morbidity. And the
Okay.
case report that got submitted was about uh, double valve replacement. So both transcatheter aortic valve replacement and transcatheter mitral valve replacement in an emergency case. That was the case report. And the
Okay.
case report that I submitted later on, which I did in India, was about malaria myocarditis. So
Okay.
I did these things, but I was a little late. So to answer your question, no, I did not do any research when I was in my MBBS. And to add to that, I should have done that. And I've already, I think, with Manik, that in his video, I've talked about ICMR, STS projects, and all those things that a medical student should, lay their hands on.
Right. So
Yeah.
I asked this question because most of the USMLE aspirants have this mind ke we have to do research to karni padegi to attribute this in your CV and all. So and now I would like to ask the same question to Dr. Manik. So did you do any research, or if you have any ongoing research, that is?
So how my story started was like, so I got interested in second year, and my senior told me, get research done and all. So I tried to get a research done. I tried to apply for STS also regarding a study on like, effects of depression on the sleep of medical students. But my study got rejected by STSs, ICMR. And I was literally heartbroken. I was like, what's the use? And then like I left that project, right? Totally. And that was actually foolish because it's okay. Don't get disheartened even if you get selected for STSs. Like you don't like short-term studentship from ICMR. If you do not get selected, it's fine. Find other people. Start up with any research. Try to get it published. There are lots of people who are interested. Just go out. Ask your professors. Ask anybody and try to get your name in there. Right, in a good journal. Right. So that's what happened with me. Right now, I'm trying to do it again, like regarding COVID-19 effects on the sleep of medical students and COVID-19 effects on the studying patterns, like how has it affected the study of people like who are currently medical students. So it's an all India one is an all India study and one is a global study. So I have partnered up with somebody in New York for the global study, and I've partnered up with someone in India. Right, she doesn't live in my place, but I got in touch with her through LinkedIn or something, right? Through LinkedIn, you can find people. Yeah. So that's what I'm working on right now.
Right.
But research, right? But what my view about research is, I went to this seminar once, and there was this guy from, I think, Kaplan only, and he told one thing, right, that caught my attention. And he was like, if you're not interested in research, like, I don't know, it's totally controversial. If you're not interested in research, don't do it, because they can see it on your face. Like, if you're totally not interested in it, like, if it, like, if it puts you to sleep, don't do it, because they can see it. Once you go into that interview, they'll ask you about your research, and they'll ask you questions regarding it. The way you respond, they will know that you're not interested, and like, you just try to get your name in there. But I'm not like 100%, that's what he told. But there is another view about it, that if you have done research, that actually shows at least initiative to do that, right? So that
Right.
you might be able to publish papers for those people, like your attendings, or your, once you get into a US university, they want research under them. Like, a lot of university programs, like Preetham sir has told me, they want that, like, you do research, and that gives them more, that puts, like, so you're going to publish your research under their name, right? Because they're going to get involved, and so that brings them their CV up too, like your,
Okay.
your people who head your departments and all, right? So having research kind of boosts your CV in that way. But there are a lot of counter arguments. So, but I am trying to do research in the end, because, why not have it? Why not have that another egg in your, like, nest? Why not do
Yeah,
that?
Right. Right.
What's
Definitely.
the
definitely. So
harm of?
again, I'm sorry to cut you off, but if there is, like you said, is it important for everybody to do research? Like, for example, if you ask me if I had not done any submissions, or like I had not, had any like publishings or in journals, and would I have still gotten an internal medicine match? I think I would have, based on the rest of the profile on my CV. I would have. So if you want internal medicine, if you want pediatrics, there is a lot of demand and supply. So it's there's a good chance that even without research, you will make it. But if you want to go into dermatology, if you want a surgical branch, the supply is like, the demand supply is not well balanced. So there's a lot of people who do not make it. So in that case, you need to have an extra edge, in which case research becomes like, it's just like it's mandatory, almost
Right.
mandatory.
Right.
It's impossible to get in without research in that particular domain. So that's my take on it. So don't get disheartened. So see, for example, in my case, I didn't have research till I didn't know like the format of ERA's CV till the ERA's applications opened up. I had no idea. Okay. But then I did something the moment it opened up. There is something you can always do, like, because in those few months you're not studying.
Right.
At least
Right.
I was not. So I like put all my focus on my CV and how to develop it and all those things. You can still do it, because a lot of people ask me, sir, I don't have any research. Do you think I have any chance in USMLE? I'm like, oh my God, don't say that. You have all the chances. You have the equal, chance as any of us, because it's not very, very important when it comes to subjects like internal medicine. But like I said, I'm just repeating myself. Sorry, go ahead.
So competitive, all the competitive specialties
Specialties.
like
Yeah.
surgeries, neurosurgery, especially for neurosurgery, I've seen you need a lot of research projects, like at least 7. I've seen people like submitting at least 30, right? If you want to go into neurosurgery, kind of those things, right?
Right.
Because their scores are already pretty high, right? They know, like, they have people in 260s and they have people in 270s, right? All those high scores. But then you need a factor that helps you, put you ahead of them, right? And that is your research, your CV. What have you done in your life? What extra special things that you have done? So that's why I think for competitive specialities, you need a well brushed CV, and especially for university programs, because again, university programs require a lot of research, because they have a lot of research going on, right? If you go into a community program, they just require a lot of people who can do a lot of work, not research. But if you want to match into a into a good university program, research is critical, because they want a person who can do research, because they have a university program, right? And there's a whole
Right.
big, like, a lot of other things. Yeah, this is, I think,
Yes.
important.
Yes, so that now that this explains why a friend of mine who is very much into attaining neurosurgery, why USMLE is doing so much research is good going, dude. So next question is that again to Dr. Preetham is that would you like to share some of your attributes of your CV because according to your explanation about research, and this is actually the national question we get in our USMLE webinars as stated by Mr. Abhishek. National question is CV, so we get a lot of question on how to prepare it and resume and all. So would you like to share your attributes and what you wrote in your CV?
Yeah, so like you said, it's $1 million question. Nobody knows what
Right.
people like, nobody knows what people dislike.
Right.
Okay, so the attributes of my CV were, first of all, that I had a good score profile. So
Okay.
double 250s, definitely plus plus. And then I have a good college background. AFMC, it has a little name that definitely helped me. I would not, to be
Definitely.
honest, it definitely helped me. So that is another plus plus. And a third thing is that I have some extracurricular things. I'm a musician, so I have some stuff that I've done like keyboard vagara mein. So I have listed that in the CV in those sections. So that's again a plus plus. I have done some submissions of research projects, even though they didn't get published. Like I was telling Mike the other day that there is a section under the ERAS application that says the publication status, whether it is submitted or it's in print or it's going to get published or it's published. There are 3-4 statuses of a research project. So if, like I said, if you pick up a project 2 months before September 15th, which is the date of application, don't start thinking that like 2 months is not enough for me to submit a research project. 2 months is not enough for my thing to get published. Yes, it might not be enough for your thing to get published, but at least submission is good enough. So always keep that in mind when you think about doing a research project. Okay, so that's about the status of that research project. So mine were two submitted, like one submitted case report and one submitted review article. That was my CV. And apart from that, I'm trying to remember what else. In work experience, I wrote about my internship also. So a lot of people think work experience is only like a job that you do after MBBS, but internship should be included because that is something that Indians have, because we have a compulsory rotatory internship. So we have that asset. So we should definitely list it under work experience. Apart from that, along with CV, equal and in fact sometimes more weightage is carried by the letter of recommendation. So I had, I think, good letters of recommendation from what the PDs quoted from the LORs.
Right. Right.
I think I had good LORs. And apart from that, I think, yeah, these things. And then I had done a like a oral presentation uh, in Thailand on one of my papers. I had done an oral presentation of that in Thailand under I think it was the International Conference for Military Medical School. So I had represented the country, gone there and did that. So that is another impressive thing on my CV. So I think, yes, LORs and these small things on my CV were the attributes as to why somebody would pick me up for an interview.
Definitely. So this was what you mentioned apart from your scores and your LORs that you mentioned the status of your publication of your research, whether it was
Yeah.
published or whether you just submitted it, and other
Right.
things like your extracurricular activities. You're a good musician and
Yeah.
you have gone overseas to represent the country. So all these things
Right.
matter, right?
Definitely.
So Dr.
Yes.
Manik, do you have some suggestions on your on how to prepare a CV or anything like that? Because it is a golden question, the CV question. So I think we should ask your views on that as well.
See, I think the number one thing that is king is scores, right? Because scores are going to get you to the door, right? What happens is when they want to invite you for an interview, that's what I've learned is scores are the most important thing for like when they invite you. But to get into the residency, scores are just going to get you to the door. Like, they are going to get you to the interviews, right? After you get into the
Right.
interviews, scores are off. Scores don't matter as much. Now what matters is what you have done. What can you talk about? What's your CV, right? So scores are important in just getting you the interview. But however, they do not guarantee residency, because I know a person who scored a 268 and did not match. The reason, like, because his CV wasn't that good, his interview skills were not that good. That's where CV comes in. Even if you get a lot of interviews, you still not might match. If you build a good CV apart from your scores, that's what increases the chances of matching. So I think LORs, I think, would be the second thing on the list. apart from these scores would be LORs, because they are written by physicians in the US, right? And if you can get a LOR from a university, and that too, like, what do you call that? Head of the department, right? What do you call the head of the department, sir?
Chair.
I forgot. The chair. If you can get it from a chair of a good university, that carries a lot of value, because and like versus a LOR from a person in India, right? Because they do not know Indian physicians, they cannot so they do not like kind of value it as much. But if you can get it from a good US university, a good LOR, and how do you get good LORs? You get them by doing either an elective or an externship, because when you do something like a hands-on experience, that gives them a lot of things to talk about you versus an observership. An observership is not hands-on. So what happens is, if you can't touch the patient, you can't talk that properly, you cannot talk properly to the patient, what are they going to write about you? Nothing. There's nothing to left, right? There's nothing to write about you. Versus if you're given an elective or externship, you can now touch the patient, you can interact with the patient, you are given all your some access cards, right? You can access the whole directory and all, right? That gives them a lot to write about you. So if you can get something like that, like from a university chair, that means a lot. That gives them a lot to talk about. Plus, you have done something hands-on. So I think that puts you up very high, right? Second thing. Third thing is all other thing like research, right? So have you done good research that is published? However, even if it's not published, it's fine. But if you have done something that's published on PubMed or any of the international journals, that kind of puts you again up there, right? Other things that I think people have told me about is joining NGOs. You can join Red Cross or
volunteer servicing.
All India servicing, right? Even if you have taken part in Pulse Polio, right? That can give you a lot to talk about, because Pulse Polio is something you can put up in your CV, right? You did a service to the nation, right? And yeah, right. So that's because they don't do it, right? They don't do something like Pulse Polio, and it is very interesting for them if you tell them about we have this thing called Pulse Polio, we're trying to eradicate it, and so we take up these duties and go there. So that's pretty good if you've done it. Other things you can do is see. So I talked to this resident from she's doing in Metro Health. She's a psychiatrist there. So she told anything interesting you have done, right? So things interesting things about me, I have published a book when I was in my 9th standard, right? It's on Goodreads.
Oh my God.
Yeah, now they don't sell it on Amazon. It was actually on Amazon and it sold pretty well. I remember that. So if you published a book, interesting things about you, right? I have given seminars in while in my college. So I use this app called Events High to give public seminars, and I charged people, and they were pretty happy about it because I taught public speaking. I was actually a pretty good public speaker when I was in my college. I used to go to a lot of
I can see that.
Win prizes, right? So I taught that, and that can go up on my CV, right? Anything interesting you have done. Right now I'm creating this website.
A YouTube channel, Manik. Forgetting that.
YouTube channel, right? A YouTube channel.
Of USMLE, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah, absolutely correct. If you are doing all these crazy things, that can actually, show, you get you can talk a lot about them. When you're in the interview, they're like, okay, you're doing this and you have done this. They tend to remember you more when you do these kind of things, right? Because this guy is doing so much more. Try to do that. Try to, so whatever you try to do that, and you can put that up your CV, right? Because a lot of people have told me, if you do these kind of things, I'm not doing it just for the sake of putting it on my CV. I'm doing it because I like it, but these still count, right? In the end. However, again, scores number 1, second, letters of recommendations, third is research, fourth is extracurricular activities, if you can do that.
True. Okay. So I think, yes, listening to both of you has given me such complex. Let's just move to the next question, right? So you guys mentioned a lot about clinical experience and electives in the US. So now a question to Dr. Preetham is that, did you do any clinical rotations in the US, and where in the US? And also, what was the duration of that clinical experience? Would you like to give your views?
Right. So I did 2 clinical rotations. One was hands-on, so clinical elective. That was in Brooklyn. I did that in internal medicine and emergency medicine. So it was for 1 month. So I would do 1 day of 1 to 2 days per week of internal medicine in an outpatient setup. And I would do the rest of the days around 10 to 12 hours in an emergency room in Brooklyn. This was based in Brooklyn. And then another 1 month rotation I did that was not hands-on. It was an observership. And that was in Houston. It was in advanced cardiology. So it's like, to be specific, structural heart disease and interventional cardiology. It was in Houston, University of Texas. So these are the two rotations that I did, 1 month each.
Right. So I noticed that you take most of the subjects in medicine as well as cardiology, which you are even in your research projects, right?
Yeah,
So now,
again, because I like it, not
right.
because I'm Indian. Sorry.
When did you do it? What time of the MBBS curriculum or after the MBBS? When did you do it?
Yeah. So I did this. So I did my elective because I had to be a student. I did that before finishing my internship. So after step one and step two CK. So May 4th was my, May 3rd was my step to CK, and May 6th was the first day of my elective. So
Okay.
that's the way I planned it. And the observership, then because I thought I had to apply, so I was, like all for graduating, and so I had to like finish my internship. So I was no longer eligible for another elective. So I had to do an observership, and that was just before my application. So I did my the observership in the month of August, and I applied in September. So there's one piece of advice that I would like to give people. So it's a very common myth that if you have not graduated, and if you don't have an ECFMG certificate, pardon me, an ECFMG certificate, you will not be able to apply. Okay, a lot of people say that it's big on forums, and it's people have like actually like they reached out to me on Facebook, and they used to tell me, Preetham, don't apply this year because you don't have a degree in your hand. So guys, it's not important to have graduated by the time you apply, because it's basically common sense, because the American medical graduates, they graduate in say March or April. By the time they finish their graduation, it's late, it's not like so soon. And when they're interviewing, they actually are busy doing the rotations. So if you talk to an AMG there who has come for an interview, he'll be like, so what are you doing nowadays? And you tell them, what do you mean what am I doing? I'm giving my interviews. Duh. And then he'll be like, no, but like I'm doing my, emergency medicine rotation or like internal medicine rotation. So they are doing rotations and simultaneously interviewing, right? So they have not yet graduated. So that is the biggest myth, that you have to graduate by the time you apply. That is September 15th. And then next one is that graduating is not enough. You also have to get your ECFMG certificate by the time you apply, because otherwise people won't call you for interviews. That is again a very big myth. Okay, this becomes important. So I got my ECFMG certificate on March 5th, 2020.
Oh,
I matched. Okay. So you guys will match. So don't worry. Like ECFMG certificate, according to ECFMG, you need it by the time you start your residency, which is by the end of June. So this becomes very important for people, especially right now because of COVID, when everybody's timelines are just like fucked. Okay, so you need to think about modifying your timeline in such a way that
Right.
everything fits in this cycle. You still want to apply for such and such cycle. So don't worry if you don't graduate. Don't give up on an elective. I did that. I gave up on an elective and instead did an observership because I was afraid of not graduating in time. But that's fine. I mean, there's a lot of intricacies involved with in this case, in this thing. So if you have any doubts, you can reach out to me. I will tell you exactly how it works, because it will become too lengthy. But bottom line, you don't have to have an ECFMG certificate, or you don't have to graduate by September 15th. Don't worry. Plan your timeline very wisely. That's very important. Do as
Right.
many electives as possible. Do as many hands-on stuff as possible.
Right, which is like very true what you just said. So, guys, I advise to record what Sir just said. Please, these were the myth busters that you need to take care of. Right.
Lol,
So,
yeah.
so
when I
another
did not
question.
know that. I did not know that. Like I'm like, boom,
See, it was a
Mythbusters.
myth buster. Please note, guys,
Mythbusters.
record it. Right. So, an adding question to this was that you have applied for the electives. So, did you get the letter of recommendation from them? You mentioned. So, how early did you apply for them? So, again, this question was this: that did you get LOR for them, and how did you apply? How early did you apply?
So for the elective, I'd applied 6 months before. The standard time is anywhere between 8 to 10 months. You need to give them enough time for them to process their applications and do everything. So 6 months I took before applying for an elective, and
True.
and 5 months I think before the observership. So this was how many months I had to apply, like prior to starting an elective. And the second part of the question was, how
Letter of
did I get
recommendation.
LORs? So yes, I got two letters of recommendation from my first elective that was in Brooklyn. So one was an emergency physician, and the second one was an internal medicine physician. In the state of New York, internal medicine people can also practice emergency medicine. So that's another. So so actually, I got, so basically the qualification of that doctor was IM, but he gave me a letter of recommendation based on the stuff I did in an ER. So it was like, an all-round thing that, like, he know how to work in an ER, how to go about that stuff. But still, as an internal medicine physician, I know that he's good in diagnosis and talking to a patient and all those things. So those are the two letters I got from the elective. I got one letter from my preceptor in advanced cardiology in Houston. So yeah, three letters of recommendation in total.
Okay, so I think that is very important letter of recommendation, as both of you explained during the CV question, that is. So now
Right.
over to Dr. Manik. So now, when do you plan to complete your US clinical experience? And if you have already started applying for it / already applied for it, could we know that?
Right now, I don't think anybody's going to allow electives for at least, I
Right,
think, 6 months. So that's
definitely.
gone, right? However, like you can still try applying if you can get into next year, because there's going to be a lot of people who are going to be competing for it. Because right now, what happened is people who were going to who were going for USCE in these 6 months are like shifted to the next year, right? So you have a lot of
Yes, so
competition
sad,
right now.
right?
Yeah, that's so sad. But like you can like I'm trying that. I know a few people, so I will try my best to get in there. Like so, let's see. Right now, I don't have any plans exactly because of the COVID-19 thing. Right? Nobody's actually picking up any calls. Nobody's replying to emails. So
Def-
can't do anything right now. So just focus on like I'm just focusing on studying for Step 2 CK right now. That's what's happening. That's it.
Right. Okay. So, Dr. Preetham, how many programs did you apply for, and how many interview calls did you receive from them?
I applied for 180 programs and I got 18
Okay.
interviews.
Oh
180.
my God. Okay.
Yes, so yeah, 180 programs. Yeah. so so no matter how confident you are and stuff, please apply between, like, at least to between 150 and 200 programs to be on the safer side. It's okay, you'll shed a few more dollars, but it's fine. Just try to be in the safe, zone. So 150 to 200 is what I recommend. And on an average, people do get, if their profile is like okayish, people do get 8+ interviews at least. So yeah, 180 and 18.
So I think that gives us a rough 10% success rate in your case. Oh my God, this is scary.
Yeah.
So, right. Now, would you like to share your interview experience? This was a question from most of our viewers. I would like to share your interview experience with us. Any particular incident in your interview, which is important for us viewers to know, anything which
Right.
made you learn from that incident?
Right. So I'll give you a very, like, small example. It's not very small. So this was in some university. I can't name that university. Internal medicine interview, and we had our set of questions. This was, I
Okay.
think, 15 minutes into the interview,
Okay.
and I'm sorry. So the attending asked me. I'm sorry. The attending asked me. He didn't ask me anything. He just made a statement. He said, Preetham, I'm sure looking at your profile, I really appreciate your CV and everything that is there on it. And looking at your profile, I think that you have gone through a lot of difficulties because you're an IMG. He said that. Now I had two options. One, I could just, like, start rambling, but oh my God, you're so right. I have done so much mehnat, and oh my God, I know I'm so great, like, thanks, dude, and all. I didn't say that. So what I said instead was, definitely, I mean, I accept that it is a fact that IMGs, for IMGs, it is difficult to get into residency. But
Right.
then instead, I focused more on how difficult it is for an AMG, and I don't put myself above an AMG in terms of the kind of difficulties I faced, or like my experience as such with USMLE. So I elaborated as to what problems AMGs face, and like, if it is difficult for us to get into residency, it is as difficult. In fact, I would say even more difficult for them to get into a medical school. Especially in the US, to get into a medical school. And also, by the time we become attendings, we buy a house and we start living lavishly. It's not the same with them because, I have seen attendings who still are paying their student debts. So their life is also fucked as my life has been in the past 2 years. So I gave credit to the problems AMGs face. And because most people who interview you are going to be American medical graduates, and
Right.
so this shows that you have that kind of an empathy. You have a general awareness about things that are happening around you, not only with you, but around you. So you need to have a general awareness about the place you go to. If you're going to Baltimore, you need to know about Baltimore. If you're going to a specific university, some universities are a part of a big chain, let's say MedStar. It has like a group of, it's a healthcare system. You need to be aware of the healthcare system. If you're going to meet the PD and the associate PD, you need to be familiar with what kind of people they are.
Right.
Similarly, you need to be, like familiar with the people around you and familiar with the system and
Mm-hmm.
culture in their country. Indian doctors, medicine in India has a kind of culture, and we are very familiar with it. We pick out a lot of nooks and we say a lot of pluses and minuses about Indian medical system, and we are very proud of that. But same thing, you need to know those things, pros and cons about the American medical system, because then there are two things that will happen. First, you will feel more confident when you go for an interview, because you'll be like, I know about what they're going through, I know about their system, I think I will fit in. So it gives me confidence. When you have that confidence and when you convey it to the interviewer, you convey essentially this fact that I know what's happening here, and you don't have to like hold my hand in every situation when I'm here training with you.
Right.
So those are the two big things. When you present your familiarity with the system there, these things will definitely help you. Now what I did, I watched House MD. That's all I know about the American medical system, right? So nothing more than that. But that's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is, subscribe to NEJM, subscribe to American College of Physicians, subscribe to SDN, get email. I get stupid mails from Naukri.com. I would love to have a mail from ACP sharing its updates as to what is happening in the US. So what
Right.
happened was there was this, discussion about electronic health records and how it is a very big burden for the US physicians and this and that. So the year I went, I think it was some, like anniversary or something of, so many years who completed that EHR was introduced in the American medical system. And so the American College of Physicians, they wrote a letter to the government of the US to speak to the EHR companies like Cerner and Epic, on behalf of them, trying to convince them to make changes in the EHR. So when you know something like this, you feel extremely confident. If somebody talks about EHR, or somebody says, "Are you aware that there is going to be this electronic health records? Would you be able to manage this whole thing?" If you say that, what, I am very good with technology, I'm a techie guy, that's not enough. You should be aware about these things, and if you say these things, then the impression that is created of you is very different. You come
Right.
out as a very mature person, and that's like just like very likable. So I think this is one experience that, because when we prepare for an interview, we prepare, okay, tell me about yourself, why did I come to the US, why do I want to do internal medicine, and we prepare or rehearse all those answers. But what we leave out is these things. So these things also should be focused on, like, when during that time, just take out 10 minutes to read one article.
Right.
It's fine, and then it helps you in the long run, trust me. So
Right. So, guys, I advise you to record this part as well, because this was something that I personally did not know, that you should know about the American healthcare system as well, that you don't know this question might come up. So, what I learned from this answer was that American Bharti Bhai Bhai, you have to tell them, and you need to be very aware of their healthcare system. Right, right, true.
American College of Physicians, their website,
Right,
correct?
yeah,
ACPN.
ACP, yeah, ACP, NEJM, any, like, because see, nowadays NEJM is not only about clinical trials and randomized control trials and all that boring shit. Okay, there's a
right,
separate section of perspective. There's something called as perspective. In that, doctors talk. So recently, I was reading an article about how a doctor who was working in as a frontline worker, healthcare worker in a hospital, he shared his views on how he dealt with his pregnant wife and his 4-year-old kid, like going to the COVID hospital, coming back. So they share their experience also on these in these journals. So if you read them, you become aware. You tend to like empathize and stuff like that.
Right. So, guys, again, Dr. Preetham, he advises us to take up ACP to check out American chain of physicians. Right. Noted. So now moving on to a very important question is to both of you again is what according to you is the best part of Kaplan Medical?
Manik, please go. I'm a little like.
Yeah, so
Kaplan
I
Medical.
actually used Kaplan in third year, and the thing with Kaplan is again, it is a subject-wise resource. So the way because it is subject-wise resource, you can concentrate on basics of each subject. That's why I think it's a really good one because now I want to learn about anatomy, and everything is
Right.
embryologically. They show you how everything is made embryologically and how you can categorize each and everything, and that makes
Right.
learning very fast, and that's going to help you in med school a lot, right? It helped me a lot in med school because I did not have to wrote all these details. Okay, superior mesenteric artery supplies this. I already know. Okay, this part is derived from this, and this is what superior mesenteric artery supplies. Like this midgut, right? And the hindgut is supplied by the IMA, inferior mesenteric artery. So that's a pretty good way to learn anatomy because surgery is again anatomy, right? And
True.
those things are gonna come to you again because they're gonna ask you what they're gonna ask you in USMLE step one is this person is having a bleed from the jejunum. And since I know jejunum is made from the midgut and midgut is supplied by the SMA, they're going to ask you what artery is bleeding, right? So if you have that kind of concepts in your head, even if they put it as ileum, I know it is superior mesenteric artery, right? If they that's how it works, right? If you work through concepts, you don't need to wrote don't need to rectify everything. It becomes very easy. And now we have physiology, right? Physiology is pretty good. They take you so deep into physiology, right? You even I don't think even Guyton mentions those kind of things. Sometimes it goes so deep. But the good thing about it is it's all so conceptual, and the people who are teaching it, they have so much of experience with the subject that they know how to teach it. So I like that, right? However, if you go to a resource like Guyton or something like that, it's very hard as a medical student to kind of know the context of what the book is talking about. How is this relevant, right? So when you learn from a teacher like in Kaplan and all, you know the context of what you are getting taught, and they know how to teach it. They know how it is relevant, and they teach you that. And since because of that, you remember. Because nobody I know remembers Guyton. Like nobody I know knows everything about Guyton because it's so hard to know everything in that, right? Kaplan is good for that, right? Like because it is very USMLE based, right? And it is very conceptual. Because it is so conceptual, it helps you in med school. And since it helps you in med school, it helps you in USMLE too, because a lot of med school comes into USMLE and you're integrating a lot. So I think that's helpful, right? Physiology, biochem is amazing. Dr. Turco, he's so damn good. I used to hate biochem, and that guy made me love biochem. So that's something, it's he shows you everything, like how is everything happening, how is transcription happening, how is translation happening, and how is DNA replication happening, and in which part nucleus, like in nucleus transcription and DNA replication happens, and after that you go into the cytoplasm. That's where translation happens, right? You kind of not think you kind of don't think that through a medical school. Like when you're in medical school, you don't care about those things, but those things are very important when you come into USMLE, and Kaplan kind of hedges on those facts. So I love how Kaplan teaches biochem, love paths, love everything about Kaplan. It is a great resource if you have a very weak basic. If you have very weak basics, I think Kaplan is amazing for that because they help you through that a lot. And I think in Indian medical school,
right?
yeah, in Indian medical schools, we don't really focus on concepts. Even our teachers are not literally focused on concepts. Because I remember I was never taught concepts like that, right? Kaplan kind of teaches you it. Kaplan actually helped me a lot in medical school, so I'm happy about that, right? It helped me a lot in for USMLE. I'm happy about that, and I think it played a big part in my NEET PG thing also because it was again conceptual, and yeah, so that helps you a lot. So concepts, and Kaplan. Yeah.
Okay, Dr. Preetham, your views on that?
So yes, so even for some subjects, biochemistry, rightly pointed out, I could not just digest the subject. I use Kaplan for that, and many other subjects I use Kaplan for. When I was in early days of medical school, first year, second year, sometimes I used to do Kaplan. But the thing is, whenever people ask me, Preetham, should I use Kaplan? So I tell them one thing. So, are you confident with your basics or not? If you're not, Kaplan becomes a must. Take it slow in the beginning. Definitely do Kaplan videos. And it's like that is how I advise them to start with their basics. So basics ke liye, I think Kaplan is very good. Similarly, some people tell me, you know what, I don't know what to do, I don't know how to start, I'm kind of lost, how do I do this, can I even do this, and all sorts of question mark. So then in such cases also I advise them. Kaplan gives you a kind of, how do I say it, it organizes your study, if I can put it that way. If somebody is like totally lost, I don't know what I'm doing in life, you just like, if you start watching Kaplan videos, it'll bring you back on track. That is another thing. Third thing is, I used Master the Boards by Kaplan for my step to CK to some extent, and I used to complain that why is this, why does Kaplan have a very simple language, and why this, why that, and a lot of, I'm a cribber, okay, I crib major time, big time, I just keep cribbing all the time. But so I was like, why? But then I realized that I used by Master the Boards first step to CK to annotate a lot of stuff from my UWorld and stuff into my Kaplan, and then I literally could revise MTB in 10 days. So then I understood the importance of simple language, because then I could just like go over that book again and again, so that it gave me that confidence. Because I always believe that definitely you should know a lot for an exam, but also what is more important according to me is multiple revisions. Whatever you know, because I'm sure that whatever you know, the basic stuff you'll definitely know. That stuff you will use to answer more questions. So if you revise that basic portion multiple times, then that becomes more useful. So again, Kaplan has some role to play there. And also, I think I've heard that Kaplan medical students also get some help with electives, what I heard. So, that is super helpful, especially in this time. So that's my opinion about Kaplan Medical.
Guys, record this again. Kaplan medical students get an upper edge in electives. Please record. So like now this is the last question to before we move on to the next round is, so the question to both of you again is, the major question that we all were waiting was, what was your success recipe? Share with us.
Right. So, I mean, I don't think there is one special success recipe as such. Everybody has their own. But in my personal experience, I think the right approach, the right guidance, and the right knowledge base is extremely important, for any and every exam, especially for USMLE. And I think, LogiQuest Kaplan team is well equipped to to bring that into your life. It gives you the right
Right.
approach, the guidance, and especially, for example, people can teach you about a lot of concepts, and you can read by yourself a lot of textbooks and all of that. But USMLE is much more than taking an exam. We have always discussed this. It is much more than taking an exam. It is about getting our visa paperwork done. It is about getting our immunizations done. It is about applying for letters of recommendation. It is about contacting the dean of our medical school, whose face we've never ever seen before, going to the dean of medical school and asking her or him to write a letter of recommendation for us. There's a lot that it takes, besides writing an exam. And this requires a lot of guidance. When exactly to do what? This is very important. So again, like I said, organizer. So Kaplan is a good organizer. So I think LogiQuest Kaplan team will help you with all of that. And I think this team is very knowledgeable. It's confident because it's been doing the same thing for a very long time for thousands of medical students. So I think that is why, like I would really recommend you should at least consult sometime, maybe LogiQuest Kaplan in these things, because it is really like helpful that way. They're very helpful and cooperative in my experience.
Dr. Manik, your views?
According to me, see, it's like a 60-40 rule, right? 60% of whatever you do in USMLE depends upon you, right? You need to put in the hard work. You need to have that right approach. You need to have that right mindset, and you need to be, mentally strong. And you need to put in lots of hard work for all of your steps, right? That's on you, right? Yeah. So even Kaplan cannot help you with that 60%. It is on you, right? But 40% is again the right mentorship, because mentors matter a lot in life, right? Mentors, because they have so much of experience that what can happen is, since they have so much of experience, it saves you a lot of time. And trust me, time is ways more important than money. I think time is because you can't get your time back. And since you get a mentor, like you get this mentorship thing with Kaplan, because they in ways tell you about how to go about with stuff, right? How to go about with electives. They give you that, you can apply for electives through them, and they give you a lot of info about so many things because they know a lot of stuff. I think that's why LogiQuest is a good thing, because that 40% thing is like, again, they serve that purpose of giving you the right mentorship. And I know that they're very experienced because I've talked to them, and they know a lot of people in the US, and so they know a lot about these things, a lot of things that you don't know about, right? And so they can help you with that. So go about that. So it's a 60-40% thing. So that's why try it out. It's pretty good, according to me.
Right. So, guys, I think this was all with the main questions. We would now like to move on to the fun part of this webinar, which was the rapid fire round. So this is something which is organized by the AMSA team. And now we would like to take a break from the session for this icebreaker rapid fire round. It's very simple rules that I've been allotted only 10 minutes for this entire thing with both of you, actually. And so just keep your answer brief in that case. So again, a question. First of all, the question is to Dr. Preetham, and the same question will be answered by Dr. Manik. Okay. So the first question, Dr. Preetham, is number of times you have given a wrong answer confidently in an exam.
In an exam? Okay, at least 10 times.
This is very less.
At least. Oh, yeah.
What do you mean by, do you mean the whole exam?
Not the, an answer wrongly, because something which happens with me is that I just go like, ye iska answer to yahi hai pakka. Then you're like, it goes wrong. And it's, kaise? So something like this, a wrong answer confidently.
Confidently would have happened thousands of times because I've given so many exams. I've made so many mistakes. I'm telling you, I've made so many mistakes. I can't even record it. I think thousands of times minimum. Confident.
I thought in a Viva. That's why it was 10.
In a Viva.
Even Viva it is 1,000. Even Viva I say 1,000. Right.
How many Vivas do you have?
We have a lot of Vivas. That's just another webinar. We have a lot of tutorials and Vivas.
Okay.
Right. So second question is, rate the medical subjects according to your preference. Dr. Preetham?
Okay. Internal medicine, more than pediatrics, more than ophthalmology, more than pathology, more than physiology. And down the line, you can count obs-gynae and then PSM and then all those things. I haven't thought about those subjects so much.
Dr. Manik?
Okay, so first for me is psychiatry. I like psychiatry the most. Second is internal medicine. I like internal medicine. Third, I think, would be physio. I like physio. Fourth would be biochem. Then it would be paths. Then it would be micro. Then I like forensics also. So that would be it. And after that, it'd be ENT, and then anatomy, then OBG, and then community medicine. I don't like community. And then I think pediatrics is okay. Pediatrics would be with IM because it's similar to IM, just for kids. Right. So that's how I would rate them. I think surgery would be in the end again. I don't like surgery. So.
No offense, surgery people. Right. Yeah. So the third question now is, have you guys actually counted RBC or WBC on a Neubauer's chamber in your practicals?
No.
Always acted like it. Just ask the person next to you how many, or ask the laboratory technician or something. I don't know.
I had a very good friend circle. Very helpful friend circle.
Right. So the fourth question now is, have you asked the people in the family which is allotted to you for PSM to talk good about you during your practical in front of the external?
Yeah, I have, not only in PSM, in every subject I've asked them to talk good about me, but they never have done that. I mean, I think only like maybe in medicine and surgery in my final exams, maybe I remember distinctly that they said, Doctor Saab ne ye bhi pucha. But like PSM, people always like screwed me over. Faculty and families, both.
So I studied. So I actually studied in Bangalore. So the main language there was Kannada, right? So the problem with me was I did not know Kannada so well, and my Kannada was like literally terrible. So whatever I used to communicate, they used to get angry because you don't know Kannada that well. And every time I used to get screwed over because this guy doesn't know Kannada. Like what musicians are you teaching? Like, and by the way, like it was very hard, but like they knew that like Kannada was it's a very hard language to learn, because there are so many dialects of Kannada. Like there's North Kannada, South Kannada, so many dialects of Kannada. So the physicians were okay, fine, don't worry about that. But yeah, that was just the generosity of my teachers that they like let me pass. But my people weren't happy. They were like, "Why is this guy asking so many questions? He doesn't know this properly." Like, big problem with me.
Right. So the next question is, how did you pick your specialty? I mean, I know that you are interested in cardiology, and we'll come to Dr. Manik. How did you pick your specialty?
Yes, me.
Yeah.
Yes.
How did I pick my specialty? Or that doesn't sound like a rapid fire question, but I think okay, to put in two words, uh, interesting to read and with a lot of advancements.
Very true. Right. Dr.
I
Manik?
think
Okay, so psychiatry is very like I love psychiatry, so it's very personal to me. The reason it is very personal to me is when I was a kid, I had OCD, and that kind of like I remember those bad moments and getting depressed, and I used to read stuff up, and I wasn't like so I was like I haven't read it right. So on one line, I used to be stuck for hours, like, and I used to cry like I can't do anything about that. I didn't even tell my parents, and I've gone through that period. Yeah, right. I remember this one time when I was touching the table in my school again and again. I was afraid if I didn't touch it evenly, and I had actually forgotten how many times I had touched it. So I was like, have I touched it evenly? Because if I hadn't, my parents would die, right? It was in my mind, right? And I remember the school bus going, and I had to walk home because of that, right? So it was very painful as a kid. But then I got seen by a psychiatrist, right? I got started on medications and CBT, and that kind of helped me recover, right? But I'm so thankful to that psychiatrist, like that this thing existed. Otherwise I wouldn't have been here, right? Because if there was no psychiatry, I would have been gone. Like I would have been like, oh my god, my life would have been complete mess. So I'm thankful for that, right? Number one. Number two is I've seen so many people with schizophrenia. I've seen people like that destroys people's life, like, and it's just a circuit that's gone wrong. And if we could someday find a way to make that circuit okay, it would be so awesome, right? So many people, like, look at depression right now in COVID-19. Like depression is going up like anything. Everybody's depressed. I'm a bit depressed during this COVID-19 times, right? So I think psychiatry is this branch, I think, that can literally have the potential to change the world. So that's why I like psychiatry so much, right? So, and I've been through postings. I love talking to patients because I see myself in them. I don't know if it's a good thing or not, because I was a person who couldn't function before. And if I can help people function again, like that would be such a big deal, like if you can
Right.
give a person his life back, that's amazing if you can do that.
Right. So I think we can just conclude that psychiatry is a really rapidly potential developing a branch, and it is really required in today's situation. Particularly, we are seeing a lot of phases of depression even in today's scenarios. We have seen it all. So I think psychiatry is a really good branch to look after. Right. The next question now is, which is your favorite city in the US?
favorite city
In the US.
in the US. Okay, I don't want to sound too cliche, but that's the truth. I like New York City a lot, but I've never been to the West Coast.
You've been to the Brooklyn though.
Yeah, so I've been in New York a lot. Like I've been 6 months in New York, so maybe I like New York the most.
What about Dr. Manik?
For me, it's actually two cities. I love Los Angeles, because I've seen a lot of it on like YouTube, and I love how it is. Like those cars. I want to see if that thing really exists,
The
because I
Beverly
want to
Hills
see.
thing.
Yeah, those kind of things, right? And second thing is I love New York because of the food. Because I haven't gone there personally, but I have a senior who's doing his residency there in like Larkins, and he's all about food. He's like, the pizza you get here is so amazing. This cheese is so amazing. I'm like, God, I want that cheese. And like, there's so many things like you get in New York to eat. It's such a good city. Like, it's such a like so I love life. Like people are so cheerful. Like you get that in New York and Los Angeles, right? People are like
Right.
cheerful day and night. That's what I love about like those two cities. Like New York, it's
Yes.
food.
Right. I mean, we are Indians. We love food and we love noise.
Yeah.
Right. So the next question is, could you share your stress buster mantra with us? How do you deal with stress? Anything that you have particularly that this is something which helps me deal with stress?
Earlier friends, now Big Bang Theory. Very late. I'm very late
Relatable.
on. I'm very late in these things, but still I'm trying to catch up.
Right. Dr. Manik?
So Big Bang Theory was before, but I watched it when I was a kid. Like I watched so much of it. Now there are no episodes left, so that doesn't help.
Somebody's showing off.
No,
Bragging.
so but
Just kidding. Sorry.
what I'm using right now is actually meditation. If you can do meditation, it's actually a pretty good way because it helps you, so meditation helps you like all the like stuff that's going on in your head. What meditation helps you with is it takes you to the present moment and it trains you to stay here and not think about all the stuff that's going on in the world, like COVID-19. It takes out all of that and you focus on what's happening right now. So if you get good in that, it helps decrease stress because now you are having less of those thoughts, right? So I think meditation is an amazing thing if you can do it. It's helped me a lot. Like the last 2 years I've been meditating, and trust me, like, a lot of the success that I've had, I attribute it to meditation because like it literally changed my life. Like there are a lot of apps, Headspace, you can get Headspace, you can get Calm, right? And they're amazing apps if you want to get started with meditation. However, again, one thing I would say is, secondly, is a little bit of stress is not bad for you because if you stop getting stress, right, your muscles atrophy, right? If you do not put stress on your muscles atrophy. So even like a little bit of stress is okay. Don't get scared of that. It's actually good for you because you get stronger with it, right? Don't worry about that. It's okay to get stressed a little bit. Even I get stressed. Sir gets stressed sometimes. Everybody gets stressed. So you're not alone in this world if you get stressed.
I have something to add too. Sorry, it's a rapid fire. I know that.
No,
Not
it's
breaking
okay.
rules, but yes, definitely music also definitely. But apart from that, if there is any doctor like who's like me already matched and gotten his NPI, Headspace is offering free subscription for 1 year for doctors in the US. They're coming up with a way to get that implemented in India as well. So I like Headspace because they give it for free.
Okay, so I think what Dr. Manik actually wanted to say was that eustress is fine, but don't let it go to distress. So this is when your stress buster mantras come in, right?
Yeah, it's okay to
Yes.
get stressed. See, you're always going to get stressed, right? But then have meditation on the side to decrease that. Or secondly, don't be worried, like, because a little bit of stress is good, right? A little
Right.
bit of anxiety is good. A little bit of
Right.
anxiety isn't bad because if you're not anxious, you will not perform that well, right? A bit of
True,
anxiety
true,
is
true.
okay. But if you're too anxious, it's going to screw up your results, right? So have that,
Okay.
right fit, that right, place of anxiety, the right place of stress is fine. Don't worry about stress that much. Just have ways to, anything you love doing. Like what my senior used to say is just have a passion other than studying, right? And do that when you get stressed. So that for him was music again. Like, so, right, music is a pretty good way to do that. And there are lots of ways like meditation. What I think what all of these things do, like music and all, is they take you to the present moment. Because when you're singing, you're right here, right? When you're singing, you're not right out there, you're here. When you're like playing cricket, you're right here. When you're playing guitar, you're right here, right? When you're meditating, you're right here. I think it's all about the present moment and trying to get back here through multiple practices, like maybe cooking, maybe anything you like, right? Any passion you
Yes, very true. So now this question is actually something which I added myself, and I wanted to know your views on that. Was, have your parents ever gotten any email or call from the college authorities or the principal?
Yeah,
have.
definitely. I bunked a class roaming around in the campus with long hair. I got my ID card was taken from me, and my parents were there was a strict email. Your child, is like bunking and roaming around in the campus and stuff like that. Yes, definitely.
For bunking.
AFMC.
That's too much.
Oh, AFMC. Let's not forget. Yes. Dr. Manik?
Okay, so what happened with us was, so in third year we were trying on new things like beer and all, right? We were like, let's start with beer, right? And I remember we like, so in our hostel beer wasn't allowed, so we kind of like tried to get in through another way, and we got it in, and then we started on the music, and then the guard came, and he found the beer. Like I don't know who left the door open, and then he found it, and then there was a complaint lodged against us, and it went to principal. My dad was called, and I still remember, like, getting all that, you're drinking beer, you're drinking these things, that's why I sent you to medical school. I was like, sorry. And that's the thing that happened with me. So that's just the one time.
So your dad came all the way from Punjab to Bangalore.
He didn't come, so like he got a phone call and he got really angry with me because of that. And he called me back and he was like, what the hell are you doing, right? And I'm going to cut off your pocket money, I'm going to cut off everything, right, if you keep on doing this. So after that,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
never did that.
By this, I am reminded of another. Oh my God, I've not been very good. So once I was carrying alcohol into my campus, and gate pe tha, and I was carrying it in like a polythene cover. Okay, like so confident. I was in second term, like first year medical student. I was carrying alcohol, and the gate, the watchman asked me, "ये क्या है?" I said, "दिख नहीं रहा क्या दारू है?" And he was like, "What?" So then it didn't go till my parents, but the like training officer and the people above. So they were like, "You're not going to be allowed to sit in the biochemistry exam. I'm sorry." I eventually gave the exam. There was something happened and then signed. But talking about alcohol, I just got reminded of this.
So alcohol gets you
Right.
into a lot of troubles.
Right. True. So, have you ever felt nauseous or have fainted in the dissection hall or maybe in the OT? Because I have seen most of my friends faint either in the D hall or just they're looking at dialysis and they just faint. Has this happened with you?
No, maybe I didn't pay enough attention. No, I'm sorry. No, but no, I've
No,
never fainted or anything.
no, never. Like
I've seen one. Yeah, I've seen. Yeah.
I've seen a lot of people faint, like especially in exams. I've seen that happen. Like people faint in exams. I don't know if it's on purpose or don't know.
I mean, because this thing has happened with my friend. I mean, I have also not fainted, but this thing happened that we are just looking at dialysis and suddenly I feel some weight and I see my friend is fainting. I'm like, wait. So
I've
this thing has
seen
happened
people
with me.
faint actually because they haven't had breakfast and they're
Yes,
like, I've
this
seen
was
that
one
so
of
many.
the reasons over like, yeah, I did not have breakfast also, right?
Yeah.
So now the last question on the rapid fire round, which may not be rapid fire rules ke hisab se, was how did you decide USMLE was right for you?
Ooh, okay. Caught me off guard there. I maybe when I got a good score, I thought this is working. So I took at least like one exam for me to think that it was right for me. After that, before giving step one, I had some moments when I thought I should change my mind and do something else. But once I got my score, I was like I fit well. And so that was the time when I thought it's right for me.
Dr. Manik?
Yeah, for me, it was again about the concepts when I saw the USMLE question. Because the good thing about it is you don't have to remember everything. Like with NEET PG, you need to know every classification, and then you need to have that kind of ratta that's not going to help you in your real life, right? So I was like, what's the use of becoming a doctor like that? That I need to like. I've seen questions like, what is the intraocular lens power ka formula that we use like in AIMS, right? A person gave AIMS just right now. Like, what's the use of knowing that formula if you're just an undergraduate, right now, and you're giving an exam? There's no use of that. You're not going to use it. But USMLE is going to test you on things you're going to use. I'm not kidding. You're going to use things like hydrostatic pressure in the capillary. Those kind of things are going to show up everywhere, right? Heart failure, right? So that kind of approach, that learning that was not based on rectification, and second was based on concepts that I could use in my life, like even if I became a physician, that kind of pulled me in, right? Like here is a place where I can use my head and not rely just on. So that was the good thing about USMLE, and that's why I opted for it. However, that's changing with NEET becoming next. So we are not sure how that's going to play out, because NEET this time was according to the USMLE pattern. At least I think 180 questions were USMLE questions, and that's why people who did USMLE this year scored very well in NEET. So that's changing with time. Let's see how that pans out. But if you're a person who loves concepts, who loves applying things, those things in your head to scenarios and not just rely on memory, I think USMLE is a great way to go.
Right. True. So now we end with the rapid fire round. Thank you so much for being so rapid. So now we will take with the audience questions. So I will take my phone and look for the YouTube audience question in that case.
Okay.
Right. So the questions which we are getting are usually the questions which you have already answered in between. But the question which I have received is, I think you have answered it, but yet just briefly give this answer. When did you appear for the exams? When did they, that is you, Dr. Satya Preetham and Dr. Manik, when did they appear for the exam respectively, the timeline?
Okay.
So my time, like internship, I took step one, and then 6 months, and then I took step to CK, and then I gave 4 months, and I took step to CS, and then I applied. So majorly during internship, mainly. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Majorly during internship. I gave it this March 11. So it took me about 6 to 7 months. I started like midway in my internship somewhere because again, it varied a lot how much I studied. But that's about it. 6 to 7 months. I gave it just this year, March 11. That's it.
Okay, the second question is research absolutely necessary for admission through USMLE to neurology residency? Question is to neurology residency.
I would not know a lot about neurology per se, but I don't think it is necessary, even for neurology.
I know a person in the US who just matched into neurology. She is a friend of mine. So the thing is, neurology is very IMG friendly, just like internal medicine. It's one of the top. Like it's becoming more IMG friendly with time. So because it is IMG friendly, you do not need research here. Things that are not IMG friendly, like stuff like neurosurgery, you need a lot of research for that to show that to give you that edge. But neurology doesn't absolutely require research. However, if you can get it, it's awesome, right? Why not do it? Why not put that egg in your basket, right? Why not do that if you have time?
Right. So the question is, what is the ideal time to start preparing for USMLE, considering the person just said it, that I am in first year?
Well, we had differing opinions about that. I think if that person can just if he's interested enough to watch this webinar, I think he should start. He's already started, and he should start right away.
ASAP, as soon as possible. It's okay. Like just try to integrate. Don't give it in third year, even if you're not comfortable. But just start integrating everything you learn, like from USMLE and all, into your medical subjects, because that's going to take you far. So like as soon as possible, if you can start right now.
Also have a lot of fun in medical school. It's college for us.
Have fun.
Right.
Do not become
Right.
do not become a nerd.
True. So now again, how important are electives and research to get into competitive branches, which you just said is like neurosurgery and all. So how about electives are in this case? Electives and researches.
Electives mandatory. I don't think anybody should. I mean, current scenario, I have no clue how, or it totally depends on, varies depending upon the individual. But in general, nobody should apply for this thing, USMLE, without electives. By electives, I mean, if you're graduated, at least do an observership, but do something.
So you're just saying for the competitive branches, correct?
Right.
Yeah, for the competitive branches, you absolutely need them. Please do not but I have seen some people match, but that's rare. Like if you have good contacts, you can match easily. Trust me, if you have good contacts there with attendings and all, you can match. I've seen people match in internal medicine, especially without any electives in the US, without any USCE. There are people like that. And I've seen this one girl who matched into psychiatry, but she did an elective in somewhere else in pediatrics and internal medicine. I don't know how that happened, but what that gives you in towards the clue is of contacts. If you have good contacts, you can match into places. However, I would not advise that for competitive specialties like neurosurgery and all. Never.
You need electives, right? You need electives and research. Right.
Yep.
So this question is that, do you recommend any books for USMLE? This person says, I am not really a video person.
What?
So do you recommend any books? Because this person says, I am not really a video person.
Oh, you're not really a video person. Okay. So Preetham sir.
I think the standard books everybody uses, like even I think Kaplan has books. You can do that also, or you can do first aid. But most important is UWorld. If he's not a video person, good job, bro, because you just saved a lot of time. Just kidding. But you should do UWorld and annotate your UWorld stuff in a book and then read that book. That is the most effective for.
Go watch my video. That's it. I made a video on this. It's on YouTube. Just how I.
Come on, dude. That's null and void. He just said he's not a video person.
No. That's correct. But just this one video. Just this one.
Loophole.
That's it. Just this one video. After that, you'll know. Go watch my video.
Right. So the last question for the evening is, because we're running short of time, is that, again, you could answer this question, but again, do you recommend your juniors to start in early years rather than waiting until late, like internship or so?
Of course, yeah. As early as earlier the better, sooner the better. No, I mean, obviously nobody would recommend to start late. If you've started thinking about it, you might as well start. I mean, obviously, see, if you're in second year of medical school and you're like, अभी तो मैं USMLE कर दूंगा, तो ऐसे नहीं होता है. You start thinking, you take 1 year, 2 years, depending on that. So इसलिए start as soon as possible.
Right.
See, the best time to start is right now. Like, because there'll be some people who are in internship right now and they're still confused. And they're like, do we start or not? Right. But just like know what kind of a person you are. Like, are you into the USMLE kind of, that fraternity, about these concepts, and like, you're okay with the financials of it. You're okay with the whole journey that you have to go to the US, you have to do these things, and you like US in general. You like how medicine is practiced in general. Because I know this person, like, so this person who matched into neurology, she didn't like how neurology is practiced in the US. She was like, neurology is actually practiced better in India. There, it's so many tests that you get done. So she didn't like how it was practiced. So just go and like go and do some electives if you can in medical school. See if you like the system there. That I think that would be very important. Just go, because in medical school, I don't like, my college doesn't allow me to take a leave for 1 month and go there, right? But for some colleges, I've seen they do allow that. I think AIMS or Delhi does allow that, right? Because they do that. So if you can go to the US and see how the medicine system works there and you like it, continue on with the USMLE. That's the best thing you can do. However, if you cannot, then again do that analysis in your head. Okay, I like that, and then go about it. If you can't,
Right.
but
Right. So
start.
I think, yes. So, guys, we cannot take any more questions because we are really, really, really running short of time. So, now the closing statements I would like to say is that I'm really sure that everyone who is watching this video, watching this webinar, and looks at you as an inspiration. So, before we sign off for the day, would you like to give us some particular closing statements?
Yeah. So one thing is, point number one, you will definitely make it if you're enthusiastic enough to watch this webinar or do some of your research on your own about USMLE and stuff. You are
Right.
interested. If you're interested, that's all it takes for you to make it, and you will definitely make it. Number two, I know because of COVID, a lot of people are getting especially depressed because, like I already mentioned, the timelines are getting disrupted like anything. Like now, there are a lot of my friends who have not been able to do electives, and they are having to apply for this cycle, or maybe some of them are delaying it till the next cycle, 2021. And so, a lot of difficulties. So, in my point of view, I am a cribber. I've already that's an established fact. I'm a cribber, and I will have, and it's a human tendency to have problems. If you don't have any problem, you will pick another problem and say, this is a problem in my life. So if it was not for COVID, there would be some problem in your life. When I was doing my USMLE, I did not have COVID, but I had problems like documentation work. I was still scared to go and give the visa interview and all those things. Like, on the contrary, now, for example, in previous cycles, when people would apply for a J1 visa, they'll be like, I'm really scared. There is a slight chance of rejection. But this time, because of COVID, I didn't have that, because they need doctors, and that is the psychology of
They need
all of the
workforce.
applicants there.
Right.
So basically so there are positives also. So what I'm saying is, if it was not for COVID, some other problem would have ruined your life. Your life would always be like this, in a mess. You have to work around those things and eventually make it. So I made it, and Manik is going to make it now soon, and a lot of people. And when and by the time you complete, you'll be back after giving your interviews. You'll be back February. Just look forward to that time when you're back home. February, March, you're back home after seeing the US, giving a lot of interviews, learned a lot of things from US, becoming more aware. Come back, think about your journey. I am lucky enough that Kaplan called me over and Manik called me over to do an interview with him, and so that I could share my story on YouTube. So I essentially, what I did was, I looked back at my journey and I recollected all those things, and I felt so good about myself, because you tend to think about those problems that you had and how you faced them and how you worked your way around.
Right.
It's because of this COVID. If you make it, eventually, just imagine that time when you already made it, and those 4 or 5 months you have left, just to sit back and relax at home before starting your residency. You will have so many memories, so many memories. So please look forward to that time, and I'm sure all of you will, definitely make it. So don't stress out too much. Take one thing at a time. If you have step one in 2 months, think about step one. Don't think about whether I'll be able to do electives, whether I'll be able to apply in time. God only knows what happens if step one becomes pass or fail. That's not your job to worry about
Yeah.
all those things. So worry about things that are just like, one thing at a time, and it's going to be fine. It's definitely going to be fine. So I think that's it. All the best.
Dr.
So
Manik.
So what I would say is, again, like sir, focus on the task at hand. What happens is when there's chaos, there are some people who just start go in with the chaos and they become totally ineffective. They do not work. They are totally in like, and that gives you a chance. Because right now, when the chaos happens, do you take advantage of that chaos and do something with it? Right? Do you do a research study with the chaos, like research on COVID-19 and maybe publish a paper on that? Or do you get like sad and all, like, oh my god, I don't know what's going to happen with USMLE? Step one becomes pass and fail. Maybe step two CS like right now got cancelled, right? So take advantage of the chaos. Do not be like be because you always will know that there will be some people who get down because of the chaos. That's the time for you to stand up. So take advantage
Right.
of the chaos, and don't be like just be productive in it, right? Right now, what you can do is give your step one, right? Give your step two CK. We don't know what step two C is right now. Just like focus on the task at hand. Don't think 10 steps ahead, because that's going to stress you out. I tend to do that. So that's one thing you can do is focus at the task at hand. Second thing is, like sir told, you will always crib. That's how we humans are. We were meant for cribbing, right?
Right.
The way you prevent that is be grateful. Just be grateful every single day that you're alive. Be grateful that because because just think about so many people dying every day with from COVID. Think about so many people who lost so much because of COVID. Right? You are damn lucky to be here. I'm damn lucky to be talking to you guys right now. Right? Second thing is, you're damn lucky that you're not limited to the place where you were born. Right now, in the first time over centuries, can we travel to US and become a doctor there? Can we travel to any country and do something there? You're so damn lucky to have that, right? You're so damn lucky to have Kaplan. You're so damn lucky to have this access to this information, right, online for free, right? Nobody's charging you for that. You're so damn
Right.
lucky to have good books. Like, people wrote such good books for you, right? People wrote Kaplan, people wrote Guyton, people wrote good books for you, right? You're so damn lucky that you have that influx of information. So when you have that gratitude towards life, that kind of decreases stress and that makes you very productive. So try to
Right.
be grateful for everything, because maybe somebody's paying for your journey, somebody's paying for your steps, right? That's your parents, right? And you are so lucky to have it all, right? And there'll be so many people who'll change your life with them in a heartbeat. Like, literally, I know so many people who will give anything to have my life. I know so many people who will give anything to have your life. Trust me, like, you are damn lucky to be here right now. So be grateful, don't stress it up. And you're lucky to be here. So be happy, like, just be happy, because happiness comes from inside. And just, let's live this life. Let's have fun, have fun while studying. Don't stress it up. Have fun in the end. That's it.
Definitely. So I don't know about you guys, but I feel so motivated after listening to your closing statements
So,
for sure. So, guys, I think with this, we come to the end of today's talk. I hope that I was a satisfactory host for you, and I hope you enjoy today's session. And best of luck, Dr. Manik. This is from
thank
our
you.
side and from Team Kaplan as well as Team AMSA India. And guys, I want to give you a suggestion that you should do check out Dr. Manik's channel on YouTube, Zen of USMZ, if I'm not wrong. And it gives you, because we could not take more questions that you had because of the time constraint. I think you can get a lot of answers on that channel. So do check it out. We will be recording this webinar and we'll also post because it's live on the YouTube channel, so you can check it out anytime if you want to record something and if you want to listen to something again. So, guys, with this, we come to an end of the session. Thank you so much for being with us for the entire time. Thank you so much, my beloved speakers, Dr. Satya Preetham, as well as Dr. Manik Madan. Thank you so much for taking time to talk to us. Thank you so much. And so, best of luck, guys, and take care. Thank
Bye
you.
bye.
Have fun, guys, and thank you for having me. Bye.
Right.
Yeah.